Hey everyone, my name's Benjamin, and welcome to my book club. Somehow half the year has gone already, which is terrifying. But that does mean it's time for a mid-year wrap-up, and there is a book tag specifically for this, and I want to thank 𝕤𝕚 over at basically 𝕤𝕚 Reads for tagging me in her video. It's a fantastic video, it's a fantastic channel. If you haven't checked her out, you definitely should. The link is in the description below. This year has definitely been my best reading year ever. I've read 44 books this year so far, which is a staggering number for me. My goal normally is 50. At this stage, I'm looking to almost double that goal, which is just fantastic. On top of that, I've read some of my favourite books ever this year. The quality of books I'm reading this year has been astounding. I have rated 16 of those 44 books as 5-star reads, and I've rated another, I think, 11 as 4-star reads. And maybe I'm over generous with these ratings, but I mean, look at these books and try and tell me they're not 5-star reads. It has just been so good. In fact, I have been worried that I'm not going to be able to ever meet this expectation again, and that maybe I should just read some duds for a while to bring the average quality of the year down. But without further ado, let's just jump right into the questions. And a reminder, if you want to follow along and answer these questions in the comments below, that would be fantastic. The first question is, what's the best book you've read this year so far? And this is so hard. One, you're struggling with recency bias. These are all books I've read very recently. They're all on my head, in my mind still. And two, there are 10 plus books this year that any other year would have been my best book of the year by a mile. But I think right now, gun to my head, the best book I read this year is ℕ𝕚𝕚𝕚 by Frank Herbert. ℕ𝕚𝕚𝕚 is the sequel to Frank Herbert's massively popular Dune, and it sometimes gets a bad review from people for not really being what they expect. Coming off of Dune, which has this sort of adventure-y feel, and into the sort of more mature, more political, slower-paced ℕ𝕚𝕚𝕚, I think people get turned off. And also, I don't think people like being told that they're wrong, and large parts of ℕ𝕚𝕚𝕚 are kind of telling the reader that no, you were wrong about what you thought when you read Dune. You didn't see that the way you were supposed to, and kind of revealing the full extent of the actions in Dune. It is hard to talk about this without spoilers. But it's precisely that like reclassification of Dune that makes me love this book so much. I don't know if I've read a book that's so powerful that when I've read it, it retroactively changes my thoughts and opinions and feelings of the previous book. And because of that, yeah, it's my book of the year so far. And a reminder, I do actually have a video review for ℕ𝕚𝕚𝕚 up that I'm really proud of, so you could go check that one out for some more detailed thoughts. Alright, question 2 is the best sequel of the year. And ℕ𝕚𝕚𝕚 is the sequel to Frank Herbert's No, let's go with a different answer. So I'm going to go with something I've just finished reading recently. Very recency bias is a huge part of this, but I don't think it's going to drop much in my estimation, and that is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, another book with a review up on the channel that I suggest you go check out. I'm really proud of that one as well. I loved Red Rising more than I thought I would. I was a bit worried that it was going to be a bit YA Battle Royale-y like the Hunger Games, but what I got was Battle Royale, but not so much young adult, and I really liked the characters, I really liked the writing. And so going into Golden Sun, I was super excited to see, what the next Battle Royale was, what the next step up from this game was. But what I got was Pierce Brown grabbing me by the ear, dragging me out of that genre, dragging his own story out of that genre, and just a fully fledged, epic, sci-fi space opera with fantastic characters, some of the best action I've ever seen on page, great warfare, great tactics, great political intrigue, and it's just a masterpiece. It has heartbreak, elation, victory, defeat, some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows of a book I've read, not just this year, but maybe ever. Next up is question 3. What is a new release this year that I haven't read yet, but I can't wait to? And this is an easy answer, and it is Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. And the only reason I'm pointing to this picture and not a physical copy of the book is because it's out of stock everywhere. I keep looking on online market boards and my local bookshop, and I haven't been able to pick it up yet, but as soon as I can, I will, and I'm certain that I'm going to read it and review it. I love science fiction, I love horror, but my favourite genre absolutely is sci-fi horror, and it is criminally underwritten, and I just cannot wait to get my hands on Ghost Station. The next question 4, is the biggest disappointment. So, the biggest disappointment of the year is another easy one for me, and it's something I've said a few times before, something I previously promised to do a video on, but I've decided not to because I'd rather be a positive person and put positive messages out into the world rather than negative ones. and that one is the first three books in the Bobbyverse series. Don't at me, I know that they're well loved, I know that like Reddit and Book Talk and Booktube love these books, and I can 100% see why. They're funny, they're charming, they're light, they're easy to read, but they're not what I wanted. Their biggest crime is so unfair for me to level at it, and that is they take the premise and a lot of the themes, a lot of the actions and events and set pieces that take place are pulled right out of what would be my absolute favourite science fiction book. But for me, I would want that to be a dark, serious, anti-capitalism sort of message, and instead what we get is Star Trek and Star Wars puns, along with some real light sort of popcorn reading. There's nothing wrong with taking these themes and these ideas and looking at them through the lens of humour, and it's massively popular and it's well written, and if you like that sort of thing, you should read it because you'll probably love it, but for me, it's just not what I want. The idea of someone's brain being scanned and then against their will being put in like a space probe, for me, should be one of those, like, Greg Egan, Quantum, Ted Chiang, sort of horrible sci-fi stories that just stays with you. And it's not here. Here it's treated as humour with quips and fun jokes, and that is fine. It's just not for me. So Bobbyverse, hopefully this is the last time I bring you up on the channel. It's not you, it's me, and I'm really sorry. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to see more book reviews, if you want to see more book tag videos or some more lists or book recommendation videos, I'd love if you could hit the subscribe button and hit that bell to be notified when my new videos come out. It means a lot to me whenever anyone watches my videos, and if you want to leave a comment, I do respond to every single one of them. But moving right along, the next question is the biggest surprise of the year. And despite how good my year has been, I haven't had that many surprises. Basically every book I read that was fantastic, I basically knew was going to be fantastic going into it. Probably the biggest surprise though might be Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I read Mistborn as part of my fantasy reading challenge this year, where I'm reading 10 fantasy books and reviewing them all, in an effort to get into the genre, because I've always been a sci-fi horror reader who struggled getting into fantasy. And as part of that, one of the rules was that I wasn't going to read the same author until I'd, done 10 different authors. But finishing Mistborn, I immediately went out to the bookstore, bought Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages, and immediately started reading Well of Ascension. That's how good I thought Mistborn was. However, I'd been told by many people, some people whose opinion I really trust, that Well of Ascension just wasn't as good as Mistborn, that Mistborn was better. And I couldn't disagree more. Mistborn was great, and Well of Ascension was almost perfect. I loved that book. Taking the story and upping the scale, upping the tension, adding more characters, filling out these political factions that we'd sort of heard about in the first book, and then the sort of political intrigue and infighting. It's just fantastic. I love that book. I love that series. And once I finish my fantasy reading challenge, I'm going to be reading more Sanderson. New favourite author. It's probably Pierce Brown. He really impressed me with the Red Rising series so far. If not Pierce Brown, then I did just read a few Ted Chiang books, which I really liked. So you're probably one of those two. Next question, my favourite new character this year is probably 𝕬𝕤 from Mistborn. I know it's not how it's pronounced, but it's how I say it. I felt like his arc in the books was fantastic. His viewpoint's amazing. I just love that character. I think he's really fun. Okay, next up is a book that made me cry this year. Look, making me cry isn't hard. As my wife would say, I am a sensitive sausage. I do often get choked up in books. Actual tears, not so much. Normally it's at the end of a series and it's that sort of bittersweet, everything is over, along with obvious, normally bittersweet endings that really get to me. This year so far, the one that comes to mind, I think, is Hero of Ages. Partly due to the ending, partly just due to the series being over. I know there's more Mistborn books, but I mean, like this original trilogy with this original set of characters. And that sort of empty feeling, that book series hangover you get, hit me really hard as soon as I finished it. Next up is books that made me happy. This is harder. I'm generally quite a happy person, I think, but books that make me happy. I often target books with darker themes, books that make me feel sad. Those are the sort of feelings I like from my books. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say any of the books made me happy. Happy to have read them, they were great, but they weren't happy stories for the most part. So I think I'm just going to skip to the next question. Next up is the most beautiful book I've received this year, and again, super easy answer. I finally bit the bullet and picked up some Broken Binding books. I picked up Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents. And I'm not normally one for hardcovers, but these ones are just so gorgeous. They've got these lovely dust jackets. They have these painted spines I don't know if you can see that, but these painted spines that are just gorgeous. And then the actual books themselves are just lovely. I haven't read them yet, but they're coming up very shortly. And I suspect there'll probably be a video on the channel. Next question is books I have to read in the second half of the year. I've got a lot of must-reads for my second half of the year. A bunch of books I've wanted to read this year that I haven't got to yet. I'm going to continue with my fantasy reading challenge. I've got a few books left in that series. I've promised Digger Dan Reads that I will start the Wheel of Time series this year, and if I don't, he will bully me.
I'm in danger!
I have been meaning to get to Hyperion for literally years, so I will read that this year. I read Revelation Space at the start of this year by Alastair Reynolds. It's actually the book that made me start this channel. And I'm going to read more Alastair Reynolds this year. I'm looking at continuing that series very soon, actually. But I'm way too much of a mood reader for TBR lists. I never stick to them. Whenever I finish a book, I often just have to stand in front of the bookshelf for 45 minutes until something jumps out at me. And I decide that, yeah, no, that is what I want to read next. I very rarely have a plan of what I'm going to read next. That's that. This year has been fantastic so far, and I just want to say a huge thank you to anyone that's watching and everyone that's watched any of my videos or commented or liked or subscribed. My goal this year was that by the end of the year I would maybe be able to hit 500 subscribers, and we have tripled that and we're well on our way to getting to 2,000, and I'm blown away. I'm having so much fun on YouTube. I'm really enjoying talking to people that have similar likes and similar interests, and it's really allowing me to explore this reading hobby in a way that I never had before. And so just a really heartfelt thank you to everyone that's still watching. As for tagging people, I think he's probably too busy to record a tag video right now. So I will just say congratulations, and I will also tag Digger Dan Reads. And if he has time for a video, great. If not, then, you know, he's got better things to be doing right now. But everyone should help him out and go check out his channel if you haven't already. He has some fantastic videos. Everyone should subscribe to him. He is criminally undersubscribed. So definitely go check him out. And that's that. That's the first half of 2024 under wraps. If you want to check out any of the reviews for the books I've mentioned here, the playlist will be right over there. If you want to pick up any of the books I've mentioned here, I do have an Amazon affiliate link in the description below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, it just makes Bezos give the channel a few dollars. That'll help me buy more books. But until I see you next time, just remember to keep reading.